It's no secret that we live in a geographically diverse state. The processes that shaped our world are extremely evident in western Washington and the Pacific Northwest specifically. Forces of tectonic plates have shaped mountains, and floods from glaciers have carved out the many valleys and rivers that we have running through our state. With all this geographic diversity and natural systems in nature, we have the ability to learn from those systems and develop a built environment around us that not only betters the built environment around us, but also lessens the impact that we have already had on the natural world around us. Sustainable design is a definition that is given to us from an author named John McLennan, who wrote a book called The Philosophy of Sustainable Design, and his definition is as follows. Sustainable design is a philosophy that seeks to maximize the quality of the built environment while minimizing or eliminating the negative impacts to the natural environment. What this really means is that engineers, architects, and business-minded developers are starting to look to nature for ideas on how to build better structures and build a better world for all of us. One of the first geographic principles I want to touch on that has influenced the sustainable design movement as the precipitation of Washington. Because of our location on the Pacific Ocean, we have quite a bit of precipitation in our atmosphere. Certain parts of our state receive up to 120 inches annually, and other parts, like Seattle, is about 30 inches annually. And it varies between season. Like, we get a majority of it in the spring, fall, and winter, where in the summer we actually experience a bit of a drought. What does this mean? It means that we can harness the power of water to generate electricity as well as other things. So first of all, because of the plate tectonics and the mountain building that has occurred here with the precipitation, we have a lot of creeks and streams in western Washington. A system called microhydro generation, which is highlighted here, harnesses the power of streams with either a windmill or a turbine, and it generates electricity from a natural resource. You don't have any negative emissions. All you do is you're generating, like I said, electricity from a natural resource. Another technology that harnesses our already abundant precipitation is rainwater catches. What this does is it puts collection pools on top of the roofs of buildings and homes. So think about, in western Washington specifically, 30 inches annually times however much square footage of your roof or any other collection basin you have adds up quick, especially when the average shower in Washington is about 7 gallons of water. All this water that you use from gutters can be used not so much for showers, but for flushing toilets or for laundry or for washing the car for irrigation purposes. So it's pretty easy to imagine a lesser impact on how much fresh water we have by just harnessing what we already just put in the sewers anyways. The next principle I want to talk about is seasonal weather variations. According to NOAA.com, which is a weather website, the average temperature for Seattle dips between 40 and 50 degrees in the winter and 70 to 80 degrees in the summer. What that means is we have varying needs for heating and cooling purposes. One of the first things that I want to touch on the seasonal weather variation is all of our gray days that we get so famously here in Washington, and one way to battle that is with solar tubes. There we go, solar tubes. What a solar tube does is it's more or less a hole on the top of the roof where a skylight would be, and what it does is it then channels that light using mirrors into parts of a house or room where you could naturally have natural lighting. So, for example, on this bottom left portion right here, we have a bathroom, and it looks like a mud room that's being lit by natural outdoor lighting. And then over here, for more of a commercial use, we have a whole space lit, which, who knows how much that would cost with standard electricity being lit just by the natural environment outside. Another very interesting economic principle is passive lighting and solar heating. What solar heating does is it takes solar panels on the roof of a building, and then it heats water to be pumped through the system of a house. So, for example, if you have a solar panel on your roof and then sun collects a solar panel, then comes into contact with the water can be distributed throughout the house for heating purposes by doing raised flooring under the floorboards of the house. So, more or less, you're doing radiant heating by just pumping water through your not floorboards, but by pipes onto your floorboards. Another geographic principle in Washington specifically is a human geographic principle, and that is a love of food. If you go out to Seattle or Bellevue, there's restaurants and little boutique shops and taco trucks all over the place. With that, one very cyberscaping. What you can do is you can effectively use a space that would essentially be wasted. You know, a rooftop of a building in Seattle, and you can put a greenhouse on top there. And because it is on the roof, you get a lot more direct insulation than if it were, you know, in a backyard being shaded by a bunch of buildings. Thank you very much.